Hey guys, Skittlerampage here. Welcome back to a new video. I do hope you're enjoying your day today. So today I want to talk more about Funko's limited edition program and some of the previous drops, some upcoming drops, and whether or not this is a real success or fail for Funko currently. Now guys, before we jump into our topic at hand, we do have our question of the day, which is, do you have a Funko Pop in your collection that has horns? And I'm gonna go with Omega Shinron here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So basically, I just want to talk more about the limited edition drops lately. A lot of people are really upset about these drops, but a lot of people are really enjoying them at the same time. Now, of course, it's up to the individual person whether they feel like this is very successful or kind of a failure for Funko, as I was asking that question a little bit earlier in the video. But I do think if you look at the program since it was announced back in March, I would say yes, it technically is a success. Everything's been selling out left and right. Practically every LE exclusive has sold out thus far. But of course, like I mentioned before, a lot of people have a lot of issues with these drops, how Funko's handling some of the drops with recent exclusives, and it seems like fans feel like it's a failure because they're not really making it fun per se. Now, if you're unaware about this whole limited edition drop situation, let me kind of explain it to you really quickly. So back in March, Funko did put this out saying, introducing limited edition. And in the subtext, it says, hey fans, we're getting back to the roots of what you love about collecting, the hunt for coveted one-run pop collectibles. Now this sentence down here is what made a lot of people kind of upset when this was announced. And it says, this new line of FOMO-inducing pop collectibles will fall into one of 8 tiers. I'm not gonna lie, I think we all kind of cringed a little bit when Funko used the word FOMO-inducing with their pops and all that. But I mean, technically, they're not wrong. It's been incredibly FOMO-inducing, especially with some of the prices that we've seen some of these exclusives go for. Now guys, here's the limited edition tier with prices, different piece counts, and all that. Starting at number 1, piece count, max at 99 pieces signed. Price range is $100 to $200, availability fan rewards, which just means the Funko shop. Next tier is Mythic at 100 pieces to 499 pieces at $60 per. Then we have Grail at $500 to $999 at $50. And if you'll notice, since we got to Legendary and below, it actually says fan rewards or select retail partners. So basically, as you've seen, Chalice getting some limited edition exclusives, or the recent Even Goku that we're going to talk about, as well as GameStop's getting exclusives, Target, etc. And finally, Supreme at 7,501 pieces to 9,500 pieces at $20, and it says select retail partners. So usually, like the 9,500 piece ones we've been seeing have been ending up at most of your bigger retailer stores like Target, GameStop, etc. So to break it down here really quickly, essentially Funko brought back limited pieces but upped the price to kind of cover what a normal run would actually be, whereas some of these exclusives, they would make 20 or 30,000 of them and they'd sell them at $15. But if they increase the price to $20 or they increase it to $50, depending how many pieces are made, then they kind of make up that extra money in that situation. But wait, there's more, because there's always more. There's actually a catch as to how Funko makes more money on this limited edition program, which jumps into kind of our pros and cons portion of this video of this whole limited edition drop thing. So an obvious pro to this whole limited edition drop thing is the fact that a lot of people who really like limited pieces or they like Grail pieces really enjoy these, and that's actually a big part of the fandom that really enjoys limited pieces. So it does make that group of the fandom very happy to see limited pieces and more value brought back into the hobby. And I do actually agree with that, solely because I actually like my items to have some value to them. But at the same time, I own plenty of $10, $20 items, or, items that have never went past their retail value. However, there's also people in this fandom that are completely the opposite. They could care less about value. They could care less about box condition and all that, which is perfectly fine. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this whole limited edition program is a way for Funko to make extra money kind of on the back end without you maybe even realizing it. So you may or may not know that Funko has been doing a lot to increase their DTC, which stands for direct to consumer. And what that means basically is that they're cutting out middlemen like Chalice Collectibles, Target, GameStop, pretty much any store that sells Funko Pops if they get an exclusive. So that's why sometimes you see a lot more Funko Shop exclusives than these other smaller stores getting exclusives, because if Funko cuts them out, then they actually make more money on the pop or item itself. So this is where it comes in handy to them actually giving themselves some of the more limited drop pieces on their website, or even some of the higher count pieces. As you guys do know, they implemented their fan reward system where you actually get 10 points for every dollar spent. And the fan reward system and all the points you're gaining on the Funko shop is actually a key point in this entire limited edition program. That point being is that it's increasing Funko Shop sales specifically. I can't tell you how many times I've seen comments recently in the last 3-4 months since this whole thing was announced that people are waiting for different exclusives or commons to hit the Funko Shop so they can get their fan rewards points. Because not only does Funko offer discounts, or you can get giveaway entries for SDCC, NYCC, or other events, but for these limited edition drops on the Funko Shop, you actually use those fan rewards points to get early access to the limited edition drop. Now, how do fan rewards and the early access come into play here? So basically, let's use the Star Killer LE 750 piece drop that dropped earlier this month as an example. So that Star Killer did drop on Friday, and 3 days later, it's technically supposed to go on general sale, meaning that everybody can access this. But at 750 pieces, it's most likely never going to hit general sale, as you may know. And this is where early access and your fan rewards points come in handy, because on that Friday drop, you get the opportunity at early access to just a private sale of the exclusive. And you spend 2,000 of your points to get early access in that sale versus waiting for general sale 3 days later. And basically you just use those points at the same time of the drop. You click redeem points and then it lets you buy the exclusive for $50. Now I won't lie though, there's two ways you can kind of see this with the fan rewards redemption and all that. While it does increase traffic to the Funko Shop and you're more likely to want to place your order on the Funko Shop to get those points for early access to all these limited edition drops, it also is very seen as a kind of pay to win system, essentially, because some people might have a lot more money to spend on exclusives or pops for their collection than others, while others may be gaining them very slowly. However, at the same time, it really doesn't matter, because even if they drop the 750 piece as normal, the website's going to get glitches and errors as early access did, because some people were clicking the button over 100 times and it never let them in. So that's where a little bit of a con comes into the situation, where if the website glitches, you don't end up with the exclusive. There's been situations where it's redeemed people's points and not given them the pop. So it ends up being pretty crazy either way, whether they drop it for fan rewards early or, they drop it as a general release. Both are going to be glitchy and a mess. Anyways, though, back to my whole pro here about this limited edition program. It increases sales on the Funko Shop, making Funko more money, thus making their stockholders happy. And I truly believe Funko modeled the limited edition program around their direct-to-consumer for their website specifically. I don't think it was one of those situations where the CEO was like, man, let's give those collectors limited pieces. They really deserve it. This was all about making money. Now, the final pro I see to the situation is that, as you know, smaller shops have been also getting exclusives like Chalice, Even, and Toy Temple, for example, and this actually gives them a lot of exposure and a lot of traffic to their pages. Though recently, it's actually been much more bad exposure, but there's still some good exposure mixed in there, new customers and all that. But yeah, depending on how the smaller retail drops the exclusive, especially as of recent, it can be seen as a pro or con. Now, moving on to some cons of this whole limited edition program is the fact that it is a limited edition at the end of the day. You're not gonna be able to make everybody happy here, and that's what most people just need to understand, is that there's plenty of pops out there, especially plenty of some of these characters. I mean, some of these are one-time pops like Chaos from Sonic or, Star Killer, for example, but they're most likely gonna remake these characters in the future anyways. But the main overall con here being is that you're not really able to appease everybody here, especially at 750 pieces for an exclusive, 1,200 pieces and all that. A lot of people are going to miss out. At the same time, though, this also ties into how the exclusives are dropped. It doesn't really matter where you drop them, seemingly, though, whether it's on Whatnot, the Funko Shop, Toy Temple site, Chalice's site. People are complaining. In this case, Funko can't really win, so they might as well just continue how they're doing, and whoever gets them, and then, whoever misses out, because like I said, people are complaining regardless of how this is dropped, where this is dropped. Now, granted, though, I think some of these drops could have definitely went better. We are dealing with a lot of bots if it's on, the Funko Shop or a smaller page like Toy Temple, for example, where things are getting eaten up very quickly, especially when, bots are given an exact time as to when this exclusive is going to drop. Of course, though, you have to look at it as, while there are bots, there's also a lot of collectors that are trying to go after these exclusives at the same time. So it's not just bots. There are collectors getting these. It's just a mix of both. Now, another con that can be seen is that Funko is technically making less money on these exclusives, like the specific pop. As I mentioned earlier, though, they are making money in other areas, like more direct-to-consumer to the website, but at the end of the day, a 750 piece pop, even at $50, is not going to bring as much as them selling, 20 to 50,000, however they make, of a normal exclusive as they would. Plus, consider what I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of disgruntled collectors about some of these drops, and a lot of people even saying they're going to stop collecting, or, they're done with the hobby because of how, bad a drop went, or they missed out. Now, I think that's one of those situations where I don't think you should quit collecting just because you didn't get something specifically. It's just one of those situations where you're not going to be able to have everything, especially in a limited collectible hobby. This happens in every hobby, though. You're just not going to be able to obtain every single one, because I think a limited aspect needs to be present in any collectible hobby to keep it kind of more alive. So like I said, that's where a little bit of a negative press comes in, because you might potentially lose a customer who gets very disgruntled about a drop. I think one more con that I can kind of think of, but it's not a huge one because people are buying them either way, is the fact that I really hate how lazy Funko has been with some of the exclusives, as to where they're just simple repaints. They just make a common pop glow in the dark and slap a 750 piece sticker on it like they did with the Deadpool Cthulhu. Now granted, it's a really cool glow on it, but at the same time, it's just very lazy. But it goes into kind of a pro situation a little bit, where they can just use a mold they already have and make additional money off that mold. So it's kind of a con and a pro. At the end of the day, I feel like this limited edition program has really sparked a lot more interest in Funko right now, especially when they're at an all-time low. Because if we take a look at some of their limited edition drops here, let's take Goku recently. People are paying crazy prices for these all over eBay. People are going crazy for this exclusive overseas right now, and it's going to be pretty crazy here once it officially drops in the US too. And then, as I mentioned, another pretty hot exclusive was that Star Killer, which has been selling for around $500 to almost $700. But there's also plenty of other pieces that have a lot of value too, like the Deadpool's Cthulhu glow-in-the-dark variation. We also have the Freerin drop over at Chalice there, sitting at $150 basically. And even Demon Slayer got an exclusive, which was metallic Genya, that's selling for around $200 to $300, and it's only metallic. Now guys, those are my thoughts on the whole Funko limited edition program. I think there's pros to it, I think there's cons to it, but let me know what you guys think. Are you for this program? Are you against this program? And why? Now that's pretty much all from me today though on this topic. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe and click that notification bell if you're new here. I do want to end off the video by saying a big shout out to all the awesome Patreon supporters of the channel. You guys are amazing for supporting myself and the channel. If you guys are interested and want to check out the Patreon, the link is down below. We have a Patreon-only Discord where we share a lot of information, news, restocks, updates, links, and more. And finally, make sure to follow me on all my social medias at Skittlerampage, over on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and my Facebook page, so you can stay up to date. All right, love you guys. See you guys in the next one. See you guys later. Bye.